The Custodians have never slain a Primarch, let alone a Demon Primarch. They have failed in the one job they were specifically crafted to do, protect the Emperor.
So even though you throw them at a very specific problem, they have failed multiple times to actually do that thing. And also, they emerged after the heresy, but were forged slightly before, during the heresy, but then arrived after when they were most needed. And basically they are knights, so they are Bretonia.
Hello everyone, and welcome to Lorecrimes Versus, where today we have a special matchup between the Emperor's Chosen and the Emperor's Other Chosen.
Woo.
We have some energy in the field already. That's what we like to see here.
I'm ready.
Since Hal's seems to be very ready, he'll be up first with the Custodians, the Emperor's own chosen bodyguard. Whereas Andy will be taking it on with the Grey Knights. Yay. Perhaps not his bodyguard, but his ultimate fallback plan. When all is lost to chaos, the Grey Knights go in. So we'll see which of these two super soldiers reigns supreme, as it were. Hal, how are you feeling? You're going to be up first, so how are you feeling first?
There was just so much to cover. Oh my god. I don't think I've even got everything, but... You know what I mean? I think I feel confident. I think I've got this. It's in the bag.
All right. He's putting his money where his mouth is. That's good to hear. Andy, how are you feeling? How the Grey Knights got you feeling?
I think I'm going to do quite well. I've just done a video on them, so I'm fairly primed up, and at least they haven't already failed in their duty to the Emperor, so... No, good start. Well done, Custodians.
Heresy.
Ooh, before we've even started, he's got some vitriol going. That is what we like to hear. Well, with introductions out of the way, I think we're about ready. Hal, are you ready to begin the opening argument?
I am ready.
Let me get the timer ready, and your time starts now.
Your honors, I will speak of the Adeptus Custodes, the guardians of the Imperial Palace, and the Emperor of Mankind himself. Yes, the Grey Knights couldn't even get that duty. They are perhaps the greatest creation of humanity itself. To create a custodian, it is no crude gene seed implementation, no rampant injection of hormones and surgeries. The custodians are handcrafted humans. Their forging is said to be a mix of technology, mystical art that's only known to the Emperor and themselves. Each one of them is said to be unique in some way, as if their own forging process requires something special, something beyond what Grey Knights could produce, already in there. And the resources to produce them is enormous, but each man is essentially a one-man army, so you're getting a lot of bang for your buck. They are also, I'm just going to get straight in there on the aesthetics, they are perfectly proportioned, enormous warriors. They're not like the kind of roided mess like the Astartes are. These are guys that, they're essentially 9 foot tall, in abs, looking gorge. And their story begins in the early days of the unification, long before the Grey Knights were even, the backup plan were needed. The Custodians numbered in their dozens in these early days, and they fought with everything they could. They didn't even have proper arms and equipment. They essentially were the weapon. And they battled against the many warlords of terror. They were often outnumbered and outgunned and facing things that were corrupted by the warp, but still they won. I'd like to even point out that Valdor even said to Dawn during the heresy that they have fought battles just as impossible as the equivalent was of the Siege of Terror. So they had fought things that were lost to time because they would never brag about these things, like Astartes would. Fighting alongside the early Imperium and the Emperor personally, they helped purge the Thunder Warriors, which, may I remind you, were stronger and more brutal than Astartes, and the Custodians just cut them down simply. And they did have some help with the little early Astartes, but again that was because they had to swarm them like little ants, whereas the Custodians just can take them on, no problems whatsoever. In fact, a Custodes' strength and speed is about equivalent to nearly 10 Space Marines, give or take. There is some arguments about that. But even Valdor himself, Constantine Valdor, he managed to beat Rogel Dawn, a Primarch, in their first ever duel. So I don't think a Grey Knight could ever come close to actually beating a normal, Emperor on the ground Primarch, even in their best days.
Yeah, right. Just you wait.
With the birth of the Imperium, the Imperium is finally ready and it's out there. The Custodians were wreathed in Auramite drip, ornate Auramite drip, let me add. It is obviously much better than Ceramite. The Emperor personally has the same equipment made out of the same material, so you know it's good. They also are equipped with genetically coded Guardian Spears. They act as range and close combat weapons, so at basically any distance they are essentially the perfect warrior. Whereas obviously a Grey Knight, you know what I mean? He's specialized, but he's not got all the cool drip of my guys. And as the Great Crusade launched, the Custodians fought at the Emperor's side, and they cut down Xenos and non-compliant human colonies. But their deeds are only known to them because, unlike the Astartes, as I mentioned before, there's no need of victory parades or, what's it, they have little purity seals. They need to actually have a little accolades and they remember things. No, they don't need all that stuff. And when the heresy finally broke out and the webway seals were broken, it was the Custodians that fought the combined might of the Chaos Gods in the webway, defending Eldar ground. Yes, I'm being cheap there. They fought in the ruins of the Eldar city for 7 years, literally non-stop fighting, and they pushed them, the superhuman warriors, to the point of where they were tiring. Their muscles were literally tearing, and they still kept fighting, and they were holding on to the Emperor's dream. They also have the most incredible scene in Warhammer ever, where the Custodians ram their Guardian Spears into the ground in the webway, and servitors reload them. They draw out their dual swords, and a comet of light and fire blazes behind them. The Custodians, exhausted, battered and beaten, roared in a scream so loud it burst eardrums, and they charged in a phalanx of human perfection and rammed into hell itself. The Custodians also have awesome things like Valdor, Ra, and Ilion, Aemon, and Trajan Valorous. Oh my god, trying to get it all out.
Really going for all he could at the end there.
God, had more.
Well, there's Hal's 5 minutes. Andy, are you ready for your 5 minutes?
Oh, I am more than ready, sir.
All right, in that case, your time begins now.
Okay, well that was a very insightful intro for the Banana Boys. Mr. Bane of the Post Office with your ridiculously long names. Where's my post going to? This address? Bullshit. Let's talk about the Grey Knights. So the Grey Knights were built from the combined intelligence and might of both the Emperor and the Sigillite. These were the guys who were collecting the rubble from the heresy when the Custodians failed to protect the Emperor, because we all know the Custodians are quite cool and quite gaudy, but they ain't no Grey Knights. The Grey Knights are an army of Astartes which are all Psychers, all the most powerful of the Astartes, and even have their own super duper librarians, of which the Custodians can't even use psychic powers, so let's leave that life for now. They are armed with the greatest armaments of the Imperium and blessed with the grace of the Emperor himself. They are the 666th Legion. They are known as the Hammer of the Master of Mankind. They are expert demon hunters tasked with the defense of the innocence of humanity, unlike the Custodians, who haven't been able to defend anything in the last 10,000 years, holed up in the Imperial Palace. Meanwhile, the Grey Knights, they delve into the most treacherous corners of the galaxy and lay waste to terrible foes all across the void for thousands of years. Where are these Custodians? I've heard all this cool, they're gold and they're shiny, sitting on their asses all day, polishing their armor. Grey Knights don't have time for that, because they have to endure the toughest trials just to become a Grey Knight. If you're a Custodes, you just get picked one day when you're 7 years old and you get made into a super soldier. They don't even have gene seed. Grey Knights have to prove their worth before they're honoured to become one in a million who survive the trials to become a Grey Knight. Should they band together in unison, they can beat any foe. Unlike a Custodian who only is able to fight alone, when they work in pairs or groups, they're uncoordinated, they're flashy, they're very proficient, they're champions, but they don't work well as a group. Grey Knights are a force multiplier. The more Grey Knights, the more devastation, the more psychic power, the more bolters and blades and anything you need. They are far superior as an army. Just even their numbers. You've got what, 1,000 custodians. Codex Astartes, cringe. Grey Knights, not even constrained by numbers. They go, we have as many as we need, and that's a lot. We don't even have to, the fact that they are the chamber militant of the Ordo Malleus of the Inquisition means they also have special ties to the Inquisition. They work with so many branches of clandestine orders that not only are they well armed, they have the best information, the best ships, they have everything they need. Custodians, they're riding on the coattails of the Unification Wars, and Hal's like, oh, they were here. Well, I can't really defend about stuff when they weren't there, when they weren't even founded. But fun fact, Grey Knights were trained in a pocket dimension made by the Sigilite himself to combat the greatest of demon threats. They even have special equipment, like they have Necron those little cube things to trap demons and store them in their citadel of Titan for all eternity. What's a custodian going to do? Going to try and kill a demon, watch it regenerate 100 times and get tired and get your head cut off? Big whoops. Grey Knights, they get the job done, they get it done properly. They don't just stave off, but they capture and seal away Grey Demon. I just think that's really cool. They can also quell terrestrial threats like cultists, Xenos, and renegade space marines if needed. They are specialist demon hunters, but let's not forget that they're also just better than regular Astartes. And that's quite a telling thing, considering in the Horus Heresy, the Custodians were killed by the White Scars and the Word Bearers and the World Eaters while they were in prison and unarmed. I mean, they can't be that good if an unarmed World Eater and his mate can kill you. I don't know. It's just so much smoke and mirrors. But there's also the fact that they are also inheriting the glories of their founders, the so-called Knights Errant. Legends such as the last son of Prospero, Janus, Severian of the Lunar Wolves, and Epimetheus of the Dark Angels. They are the bulwark. They are the shield, they are the hammer, they are the sword at his hand, and they are the mail clenched around the Emperor's fist. Custodes are cool, don't get me wrong. Custodes are really good. They are built to be the finest in the Imperium, but they ain't no Grey Knights, and the Grey Knights en masse could best any Custodian deployment just because they have the advantage of psychic powers, they have better equipment, they have more ties to cooperative alliances such as the Inquisition and other Astartes chapters, and I think for now we're going to leave it there before I really unleash the vitriol.
Alright, stopped about 25 seconds early. He's confident, but he certainly had plenty to say. Eli, have you any questions?
Yes, I have one question. I thought both the arguments, both positions were quite good. I'm going to have to read that book with the Custodes because that sounds pretty cool, not gonna lie.
Yes.
My question, Andy talked about this a little bit already, but I had written this question already. So, who has done more for the Imperium? And provide examples for your answer.
I guess.
Well,
Andy,
Andy,
go first if you want. Go ahead.
How was kind enough to say? Oh, when have the Grey Knights ever beat a demon? Like they have beaten Angron and Demon Primarch Mortarion. They beat Angron during the Wars of Armageddon, and Caldor Drago even repped the Grey Knights by etching the name of his forebear on the heart of Mortarion. You're like, oh, guess what? A Custodian once beat Rogel Dawn, plain-ass Rogel Dawn, in a dueling match.
Plain-ass Rogel Dawn.
Yeah.
And he's
Grey
not even
Knights
involved, and he's
literally
getting
beat
bullied.
a Demon Primarch, an Ascended Demon Primarch, a Demon Prince, and then opened his chest cavity and went, lol, I'm going to write my mate's name on your heart before I banish you, so when you come back, I can do it all over again in Chaos Gate Demon Hunter. Like, come on, no contest. They've got 2 Demon Primarchs under their belt that we know of, and they've also stopped demons from overrunning the galaxy whilst the Custodians were sitting on the toilet in the Golden Throne or whatever they're doing.
The literal Golden Throne.
The literal Golden Throne.
Well, that's 2 badass answers, but I believe Eli's question is what's the most sort of incredible thing they have done. I would downright say during the Horus Heresy when the Webway was invaded, and the fact that if the Custodes, like no one else could hold the Webway portal for that long, if the Custodes had not been there, well, the species would have been dead, because Chaos would have basically consumed Terra and then Horus would have won. So that seems a pretty...
Grey Knights weren't around that time. They would have done a better job if they were there.
You know, if Grey Knights, they can save a couple of worlds, sure. I mean, but saving the species is pretty hard to get close to that, you know? I mean, also, they're under the Inquisition, so, you know, the Inquisition just sort of a bit of a ball of a mess, really, as well. But I'll save my vitriol for that later.
Good answers from both of you. Not completely what I expected Andy to say, but still good answers. And I mean, Hal, you do have to compete with the power of Matt Ward. That is,
I do. Well, compete with or suffer through.
Carry on.
Praise Ward.
Praise Matt Ward. Oh god. Okay.
The true fifth Chaos God.
Yeah, that'll be my answer. So saving the species. That's a definite big
Who
bonus.
doesn't save the species? Calm down.
Am I right? Who doesn't save the species? Am I right?
It is a good
Everyone
answer.
saves the human species if you're an Astartes or a Custodian or whatever. It's par for the course.
Alright, but anyways, we can move into the next round.
It is.
Starting with Andy. Oh no, Hal. Sorry, starting with Hal once again, right?
Yep, I'm ready.
Colin will set his timer.
I am. Everyone's ready.
Ready.
Hal's ready. Your time begins now.
So the Custodians, I would describe them as the Swiss Army knife, and the Grey Knights, as badass as they are more like an elaborate key. Sure, they do a very specialized. They're very, very good at their niche, but even the Custodians are capable of basically eviscerating demons. They did it when Gilliman arrived back on Terra, and Khorne essentially went, "I'ma hit that Terra," and they got rid of them. I'm not sure the Custodians would. The Grey Knights would do so hot if they were facing an Orc War or the Drukhari were there. Sure, they would hold out pretty well, but again, there's only 1,000 of them, so they would basically struggle in the end. And again, the Custodians. Oh, Andy said 1,000. Actually, if I remember correctly, their numbers, Your Honours, are the 10,000 host. So
They were the 10,000. They're not anymore.
They were the 10,000 host. So each Custodian again is worth more than 10 normal Space Marines in combat. And I will say it's actually a negative technically for the Grey Knights, because they are incredibly powerful psychers. But the fact is that the Emperor never wished for them to be created, because eventually he wanted to move humanity away from reliance on the warp. The Grey Knights themselves, as disciplined as they are, even if they put layers of protection underneath them, they are still somewhat tied to that little, awful place, the warp, the reflection where demons come from. And I will also speak of how just amazing one Custodian just is. The fact that Custodians can stand still at full alert for centuries at a time. I'm sure we all know that short story where the Custodian can literally stand at attention and not lose focus and be immaculate, ready to act on any instant. But the Emperor, as much as the Grey Knights themselves are somewhat, they're basically they are Daemonhunters. That's all they are. The Custodians, when the Emperor created them, they were designed to be more than just warriors as well. They were meant to be philosophers, artists, and only so much more, because the Custodians were meant to live beyond the Great Crusade. They were meant to exist when humanity lived within the Webway. And even Valdor talks about how the Emperor would say to them, they would one day just live in a time of peace. The Grey Knights are simply, like all Astartes, a blunt tool that should never have lived into that age of peace. They were all meant to be purged. And our last one I'll quickly talk about is also, the fact is Grey Knights can obviously get injured, turned into essentially dreadnoughts and all that stuff, but the Custodians have the eyes of the Emperor, so even if you lose a millisecond of their strength, they still become the best spies essentially within the Imperium, and they do get to go out and do all kinds of crazy little shenanigans within the place. And they also have the blood games, so the blood games, they get to do tests, and they test themselves to be the best guardians in the world. In the universe, sorry. I get it there. Oh my god. There's not enough time. I want to say more. Oh man.
Afraid that's all you had.
It is.
Still a good round though. Andy, are you ready for your rebuttal?
Yeah, let's go.
All right, your time begins now.
Okay, I've had enough of this slander against my boys. So, you keep saying, for example, they're just demon slayers, they're just this. You still haven't addressed my point of the fact that the Grey Knights have basically fended off every Chaos invasion of note for the last 10,000 years. They've beaten 2 demon Primarchs personally in battle, and also been fending off Magnus the Red for a few centuries. Where have been the Custodians? What have they been up to apart from changing their cloaks from red to black to go, oh, I'm going to like listen to My Chemical Romance and cry, you know, gold member looking ass, you know. We want to talk about armaments. Let's talk about Nemesis weapons, right? Nemesis Force weapons. The Grey Knights get more powerful with these weapons. These weapons were crafted originally by the Emperor himself, and they can only be used by Psychers. Not only that, the more powerful a Psycho you are, the more powerful the weapon. They literally get stronger the longer they use these weapons. Caldor Drago and the ilk like him and Arvenstone can literally kill a demon prince with one swipe of their sword or halberd or hammer, whatever it is. And again, the more Grey Knights, the longer they've served, the more en masse, the more powerful. Not just, oh, they're good with swinging a sword around or a halberd or a spear, they've got that psychic power. Custodians don't stand a chance if they can't even get near them. Could you imagine 100 Custodians trying to clear a field and then all of a sudden 100 Grey Knights just go, no, lightning, or telekinesis, or mind control, or anything. They even have subdermal runes and hexagrammic and pentagrammic symbols to protect them from demon attacks. So they are uncorruptible like the Custodians, but they also, you know, we want to talk about drip. They've got they have heraldry. You were talking about, oh, the Custodians were in the Webway for 7 years. Caldor Drago lives in hell. He's literally lived there for centuries killing demons, and they even have a heraldry marking, which is like a demon skull, which signifies when a Grey Knight has gone into the warp, fought for a few years, and walked out and gone, yeah, I'm back to the chapter. Can I have my little badge to show how cool I am? And Custodians, wah, I've been fighting demons for 7 years. Wah, I'm supposed to be the strongest thing in the world. Wah, wah, wah. All I hear is excuses. Not only that, the Grey Knights are also at the forefront. Again, I can't go over this point of the Custodians don't do anything. They just go, we're really cool, we're banana boys, we sit back and we're so strong. What has that amounted to in the last 10,000 years? It's only recently with Rebuttal Gilliman they've got off their asses and stopped just standing around doing nothing. I'm not denying the fact that they are strong warriors, but they're incredibly inefficient. And I know they are replenishing their numbers with new Custodians gradually, but do you know how long it takes to make a Custodian without the Emperor? A long ass time, and they don't have the resources the Grey Knights to have to get 1 million souls, whittle them down to one person at a time and go, that's one Grey Knight. Custodians takes years to make a single Custodian.
5,
Grey Knights you can make a few a
4,
year, and they're still
3,
way cooler, more efficient,
2,
and more powerful. I'm done.
He's done. All right. Seem to be getting a little bit of an early start in the vitriol round towards the end there.
Got nailed myself.
We could do with more time, not gonna lie. You just leave us in the corner and we could just keep going. Oh man.
In the future, we can add an extra, 30 seconds if the argument's really getting heated. I have no qualms with it.
But the personal attacks start coming out.
Indeed. Before we move on, though, Eli, have you any questions? I've got a couple, one for each of the gentlemen. Myself, if you.
I think I want to just rephrase my last question because I think I just said it wrong. Who's doing more for the Imperium like right now?
And do you want to go first, or do you want me to go?
Obviously,
first?
the Grey Knights. I mean, they're literally all across the galaxy with different several hundred to 1,000 Astartes, not crusades, but basically big fleets with Grand Masters. They have the Grand Masters going all across the galaxy, led by their Supreme Grand Master, taking care of, Mortarians over there invading with Nurgle. Oh, Angron's over there invading with the World Eaters. Oh, we've got to deal with this infestation of cultists. Oh, we've got to do this, we've got to do that. And the Grey Knights aren't just fighting demons. They're fighting cultists. They're fighting Chaos Space Marines. They're fighting anything that might be a threat to the Imperium if it tends to get in the way. And let's be honest, again, the Custodians, even if they've been doing stuff recently, it's not been for that long. And considering they had a head start, they've been around since Unification, and you're like, oh, they did all these things during Unification. Doesn't matter, Grey Knights weren't around then. They're here now, and what are they doing? Not all that much.
Well, I'd say the Custodians are doing their job, essentially, which is protecting the most important thing within the Imperium, the God Emperor.
He's a corpse emperor. They've already failed.
So we should just leave him outside and let no one near it?
They've already failed.
You're saying... They are essentially doing what they are meant to do. They are meant to guard the Emperor. We must
protect the guy who's already been
you can send out the Grey Knights if all you want, but then if there's no Emperor to return to, there's basically no Imperium. So essentially
I don't know, I'm just
you know
saying,
what I
if
mean?
the Grey Knights were around at the time, maybe they would have done a better job, that's all I'm saying.
Well, I will talk about that at some. I do have something to say for that. But no, and also to be fair, the Custodians are handing out the gene seeds and also delivering the Primaris Marines across the entire Imperium. Or doesn't matter. They're delivering them. They're delivering the new they're delivering Astartes, which Grey Knights are, to essentially they're bringing, as much as the Grey Knights are again like sort of a small scalpel and delivering heated demonic badass kickery into certain places. The Custodians are helping to essentially secure the Imperium en masse, rather than just doing sort of very niche targeted areas. And they do specialize in their job. They do a good job, but it's not impossible to defeat demons without Grey Knights, whereas it would basically protecting the Emperor without Custodians, essentially the Imperium would have
You can
fallen by
defeat a
now.
demon if you're a Custodes, but he's going to come back. At least with a Grey Knight, you can defeat him, you can banish him, you can contain him, or you can even just rend him from existence. So
There's more than just demons out there, though. Way more than
but
demons.
the Custodians can't deal with them, and the Grey Knights can deal with them and
orcs.
everything else.
So we need the minute of hate now. We need the minute of
in the
hate.
War of Armageddon. They kill loads of stuff.
Yeah, but there's not enough. They need more. They need to be better.
There's not enough Grey Knights when you're talking about the Custodes, the smallest faction.
We need the minute of hate now, by the way, because we're so ready.
I'll ask my question for each of you real quick. Since everyone seems to be accusing each other of failing a bit, I think I'll run with that as the theme for my question for each of you. Hal, how do you justify them essentially sitting back for 10,000 years after the Horus Heresy and just watching things happen? I wouldn't be so cocky, Andy. I've got a question for you too.
Well, if you considered following their orders failure, I'm not sure they were meant to essentially leave the Emperor's side. So
despite the fact the Emperor wanted them to be the guardians of mankind's ascension, and they chose to remain in the palace.
Actually, they didn't choose to remain. They are ordered by essentially in law, they are ordered by the High Lords of Terror, essentially, and what would be the last orders of the Emperor. They are the custodians. They guard, so they are the best guardians, and they do their guarding basically the best that they can. If they were in the place of other, parts of the Imperium and doing their job, they would do it obviously to a degree way better than anyone else could. But their role, the way they fit into that great mosaic and that great piece of the Imperium is to be the greatest guardians of the most precious and most important thing in the Imperium at the moment, the Emperor, and that's the job they're doing way better than what the Grey Knights or any other faction within the Imperium could do.
And you say this even in the face of one of the Custodians themselves admitting that they should have gone out and done something, especially considering they can ignore the High Lords, beholden only to the Emperor as they are?
Well, they're allowed. Each one's allowed to have its own opinion and want to go out there and fight, but yet, you know what I mean? Each person has to do their job. Essentially, if all the National Guard in your country said, I want to go out there and fight, sure, but then they need to guard. You know what I mean? They need to do the role that they're assigned to so they fit into the greater piece. And even if one Custodian is like, yeah, we should have gone out there, sure, you can want to go out there and fight, but you need to guard the most important thing, which is the anathema to the Chaos God, the Emperor.
That is a fair response. Perhaps a little bit
wrong. He's straight up wrong.
Underestimating how much the average American citizen needs guarding.
I don't know. I'm just saying,
enough.
if the president was literally a skeletal figure on a throne, I'd say maybe you should have done that a bit earlier. That's all I'm saying.
God, the hate for the Empire from
fair,
Andy is insane. Andy loves the Imperium as well, so this is.
I know. I love the Emperor, but they didn't defend him, did they? Ugh.
Oh, I guess everyone failed. Every single person technically failed then.
Except the Grey Knights, because they weren't founded yet. Haha.
Well, they were founded before. They were founded.
I've got a question for Andy too. You do speak of them being. You've said without they're just better than regular Astartes, and of course the Custodians, as it is in this debate. As much as I would like to ignore this lore, it happened, and if I can't ignore the end times, I can't ignore this. How do you explain the Space Wolves just beating the shit out of them, up to and including having one of their grand masters just like bifurcated?
That is a certified Logan Grimnar moment.
To be fair, the Logan Grimnar incident, it basically was a surprise attack. He basically went strike, and the Grandmaster went huh, and then he was already like gone.
Surprise!
So it wasn't like he had a scrap with him.
Wow.
But also it is worth mentioning that the Space Wolves are designed to be like Astartes killers. I'm sure if they ever had to, I mean, that's why they were dispatched to all the different legions that were loyal during the Horus Heresy. And if they had means or reason to fight the Custodians, I think they do a pretty good job with them too. But let's not forget that, again, 2 unarmed World Eaters killed a Custodes in the prison cell of Kambamaru. A bunch of Word Bearers killed 3 Custodes, including the so-called amazing guy Aquilon, the Tribune. They killed a Tribune, like a senior officer, with Lorgar and his men. They've all, like the Custodian and the Harlequins. Shall we bring up the Harlequins?
There's a big but to those 2 instances, which you have purposely left out, by the way.
Big shout out to my man Kegarek.
The disease Custodian, and also the chaos possessed Word Bearer. So you left out a few details on those 2 incidents.
Well, chaos possessed. You know what would have been a good counter? A Grey Knight.
So why weren't they there?
Because they weren't founded yet.
Because they never wanted to be founded. The Emperor never wanted
why wasn't
to have
Julius
a Grey Knight.
Caesar saved by Caldor Drago? He wasn't around yet. He wasn't born.
Yo, that's the best timeline. Don't joke about that.
Well, fair enough. Although, since Hal's question was a bit broader in scope, I basically asked Hal what happened, why you no do anything for 10,000 whole years.
I do love how, like in the last section, he just said, "You know what though, Custodes, they're really good at standing still." I'm like, yeah, they are. Yeah, good,
As
cool,
a custodian,
cool skill to have.
To add a bit onto my question, how do you just generally explain the Grey Knights? I'm just gonna say the F word, failing to stop quite a bit of chaotic nonsense. They obviously there's a bit of a great rift in the galaxy right now, as it were, between the Imperium. There's of course thousands of years of Black Crusades, cultists, and whatnot, and there's been times the Grey Knights I feel perhaps could have done a bit more, such as
I can literally I can ask that for him by just saying it's the writers against me and Andy right now. Essentially, they are sabotaging us.
The only thing I would say is when you consider the Grey Knights have, I believe it's 6 Grand Masters, so there's 6 basically armies in their deployment. That means they can only be 6 places in the galaxy at any one time. The Custodes, it would be more so. If you split up all of them into like a couple of men squads, you'd have the same problem. At least with the Grey Knights, they actually are still doing. At least they are spread thin, but they're doing something rather than being spread thin, but keeping everyone in the Imperial Palace and not doing anything apart from being postal delivery guys. Going, your new Amazon Prime order of Primaris Space Marines is here. I'm back to the palace to have a mochaccino. Like, no, they've been doing their bit, and again, they've been defeating demon Primarchs, and they've been in literal hell, stemming the tide of demons, and they've been continually keep killing any threats that Chaos hurls at the galaxy, and doing their best and doing their damnedest, and working with the Inquisition and working with other Astartes chapters like the Dark Angels or even the Space Wolves in that particular incident, and they're doing the best they can with the resources they have, but at least they're doing something, unlike these non-metallic metal-looking ass bitches who just stand around doing nothing all day.
They're doing the best they can. That's a good catchphrase. They're just doing their best.
Doing the best they can, indeed. All right, that's fair enough. I may have some additional questions after the vitriol round, but for now I have nothing else to add. Eli, anything on your end?
No, I think I'm all good.
All right. In that case, Hal, are you ready to get angry?
I am. This is. I have some things to get off my chest.
All right. In that case, your timer begins now.
So I'm just going to straight up say I've been saving this for ages. Titan is like Hogwarts for wankers. Straight up. They discount Harry Potter looking at. They put the Oxy in moron, and I want to talk about, again, as we mentioned earlier, the months of shame. The Grey Knights were like bitches. They took orders from the Inquisition. I said they work with the Inquisition. That's not a boast. The Inquisition is a mess, and they attacked civilians. They fought the Space Wolves. Logan Grimnar literally he just straight up clapped a Grey Knight. Like, supposedly this great warrior, he's a psyker, didn't see it coming apparently, got cramped in one. They banished Angron once, and then in the recent Angron book, they tried again, and they failed to banish Angron. So even though you throw them at a very specific problem, they have failed multiple times to actually do that thing. And also, they emerged after the heresy, but were forged slightly before, or during the heresy, but then arrived after when they were most needed, and basically they are knights, so they are Bretonia.
Ooh,
Hey, I like Bretonia.
That's a low one, isn't it? I know. Oh my god. Damn, I know. I might have completely just ruined it now.
Yeah, Eli's end.
Oh,
well, that was certainly some anger there. I could feel it.
Hogwarts This is my favorite part.
That was funny. Andy, are you ready on your end for your minute of rage?
10 points to Gryffindor. Let's go.
All right. Your time begins now.
Okay, let's not get distracted. Let's just boil this down to a few things. Like, first of all, the Custodians have never slain a Primarch, let alone a Demon Primarch. They have failed in the one job they were specifically crafted to do: protect the Emperor. I don't care anything that you say, oh, the Grey Knights failed at the Months of Shame, and they still haven't failed in stemming the tide of chaos and doing incredible damage to the forces of the ruinous powers. Custodians had one job, and now look what the Emperor's like. He's literally a skelly boy on a golden throne. And then when they went, oh, turns out maybe we've been resting on our laurels a bit too long, they moped around for millennia. Do you know how long a millennia is to be moping around in a golden palace? And they're all flair, no substance. I don't care how cool they look, how gaudy they look, how supposedly great they are. They're, considering all the power they supposedly have, they don't seem to do much with it. What's the point? At least the Grey Knights are going out there, they're doing their job, they're doing it well, and they're doing it better than the ever could. Done.
Time is up.
They are doing their best.
All right.
Whew.
Might need to expand the minute of rage to a minute 30 of rage.
For real.
A lot of the time
Me and
cutting
Andy
them
have
short.
a lot to say. We did. We've been preparing for this. We were like looking at each other's faction, just getting more angry as we went like researching. Oh man. Oh my god. There's a few good points on both sides, but I'm not gonna lie. Like, we both have glaring issues with each faction. Like, oh god, it's just like, I mean, like, try to dustpan it into a corner. And be like, just forget that.
Although I did think it was a bit unfair when you were like, oh, where were they? It's like, they had to get started. They were founded literally at the end of the heresy.
Well,
they didn't have a head start.
Well, my whole confusion is like they emerged, like essentially after it. And said like, oh, we had advanced time and 100 years has passed for us.
Malcador was like, I've got 10 dudes. They need to make a chapter. So he put them in a pocket dimension in the warp. And then he was like, right, spend like 300 years in that pocket, like training these, like, here's 1 million guys, like whittle them down to a couple of thousand and like read all these books and do all this stuff and learn how to be Grey Knights. And then they came out like, what's happening, bitches? And then they went out and did their job. But you know,
couldn't have popped out just a little bit undercooked early. Could have helped. Nah. But the real
well,
answer
they were in
is
a pocket dimension for like 300 years. They had loads of time to prepare.
I know.
It did, but time didn't pass. It was like a couple of years. I think it was like a few months, and then they were like, "We're back, bitches." Chamber. Yeah.
But Janice isn't Omegon. Why even live?
I hate you.
Why are you the way you are?
Well, before we conclude, Eli, do you have any questions? I have one more I'd like to give to each of them.
I don't know. Let's see. What's the coolest thing that a single Custodes and a single Grey Knight has ever done? I mean, Caldor Drago was already mentioned, but and also, what are the odds that Caldor Drago's a Silver Knight?
None.
Yeah.
No. Caldor Drago's a pretty good answer though for the Grey Knight side. If Andy picks that one, do you want to go first, Andy?
What was the coolest thing they've done? I mean, I've already mentioned how he basically just vandalized Mortarian's heart. I think I'll also give a special shout out to Garen Crow, who's a cool boy. He has the Blade of Antwer, which is like an ancient demonic blade, which is apparently so powerful it can corrupt any living being, and he has to hold it all the time, and he wields it in combat, and he has to every single day stave off its corrupting influence, going like, "Come on, be a bit demonic," and he's like, "No, come on, have a little bit of chaos." Like, "No, I don't want to."
Enjoy
and he
your
has to do that
weekends.
every day. Like Custodians, they haven't got that burden to shoulder. They're just like, "Look at my cool golden armor."
The Vaults of Terror.
Brother, before I had my daily cry in front of the Emperor, I was looking at my several names. I've forgotten my 658th name. I thought was it Philip or was it Philodonius? I can't remember. Could you consult the records? But it's like, no, they're just wasting time.
It's a good answer, to be fair. I didn't get to talk about how they guard stuff in the vaults below Terra, but that's like so mysterious. I would say, for Eli's question, technically what Constantine Valdor's doing right now, so he's just like effed off and going and built like essentially a new faction of Astarte Custodian angels in a pocket realm, and he essentially is going to find the Emperor's true name. And revive him.
Custodians.
So
we need more Space Marine sub-factions. We don't have enough.
yes.
We need more of them.
I mean-
There's never enough. We need
mean-
more.
Essentially, Space Marines with like their proper, like he's essentially making actual angels to fight demons. So that's, I mean, and creating his entire force in a pocket realm as the King in Yellow, which is pretty. That's
He's
a
copying
lot.
the Grey
He's done a
Knight's
lot.
homework already.
He's older than the Grey
Yeah.
Knight. Copying what
But no, he's just
redone.
like looked at what they did at Titan and was like, "I'm having that." Like, "Oi, that's elfing. Leave it alone."
I guess you'll be obsolete then.
Damn.
Until they get Primaris reinforcements.
So now we like the Primaris, huh? They're not just fucking postmen. We're okay with the postmen now. Okay.
No, we'll make our own. They'll be better.
There is in canon. I'm pretty sure there's at least one time where Grey Knight has actually been corrupted by chaos, right?
You going to reference the Knight in Silver or the Silver
No,
Knight?
not him. I think there was a different time. Does anybody know what I'm talking
This is
about?
obscure. This might be obscure lore, so I don't. Between four lore masters, maybe we're not 100% sure.
Maybe it's too old to say for sure. Then
I mean, wasn't there one Grey Knight who's meant to be a perpetual, but then it's like never talked about, and supposedly it's not really a thing anymore. Like,
I don't know about that. I haven't
Yeah, weird
too much
stuff.
your lore. All right, never mind that.
I do have a question for each of you then, and in the spirit of the vitriol round, I'm just punching below the belt on both of these questions. They're completely unrelated to one another, so there's no fear of having to counteract what the other says. So it'll just be purely your own argument, your own standing. Andy, I'll go with you first. How do you explain the Grey Knights currently having a 40% win rate on Warhammer Tabletop, placing them in the bottom 5, whereas the Custodes have a fixed 56% win rate, putting them in the top 4? How do you explain this?
I know the psychic phase has been removed, so that might be a reason. But to be honest, it might be a skill issue for the players using them. I don't know. Maybe they just can't handle the power of the Grey Knights properly. I don't know. And also, Custodians are a bit like, oh, look at me. I've got 5 units, and it'll only cost me a few less quid. So it's going to be the cheapest army. It's going to be OP. I'll just use that. Like, oh, okay. Just a bit of a just to get my gaudy little banana boys, and it's got all these. I don't play tabletop, so I can't really answer this very well. But I'd assume it's just like
Skill issue for the
balancing issues,
issues.
or skill issue for the
Andy-
people using them, I guess. I don't know.
Andy's response was to blame everyone but the Grey Knights for this. certainly one way to handle the
That's
question.
gonna go over well with the.
I wouldn't be too confident though, Hal, because yours is also rather pointed. How do you defend the Custodians having perhaps the most annoying section of the Warhammer fan base subset, where if they do not solo every single Warcaster and Chaos Demon and Lord all at once, alongside every single Orc in existence in one battle, they bitch and moan that the Custodians are not getting their fair treatment? How do you respond to these allegations that I'm putting forth?
We had the right to moan.
Because as we all know, if a Custodian doesn't beat a Chaos God 1v1, it's bullshit and the authors are favoritism.
Real.
Well, I'll just say straight up, coming as a British company, we just like to complain about literally anything, and so anytime people are just complaining about something, I'm enjoying it. I'm bathing in that annoyance. And again, it's funny. Straight up, it's just funny. I don't need to defend it. It's just funny, and therefore,
You really just,
I'm enjoying. I know how to defend it. I won't defend.
Are you literally just saying?
It's
Are you
funny.
literally just saying? Oh, don't worry, they're not complaining.
You
They're
said
just
skill
British."
issue, bro. You didn't defend. You just said get better, bro. Mine is literally it's funny, and therefore that's it. It was rule of cool, funny, basically. Funny wins. At least they're not, Bretonian 40k, so it's all good.
It's
Hey,
fair
that
enough.
doesn't sound so bad to me.
It does to me. I just. Oh, what's up?
I've been scrolling through the internet, and doesn't look like any Grey Knight has been corrupted. It was like kind of sketchy in one book written by Ben Courtier, but it wasn't. It was too vague. All these descriptions are too vague to be sure. But it doesn't sound like anyone.
In Warhammer,
Doesn't sound like
40K?
anything's been corrupted.
No.
I have vague memory. I thought one of them was like possessed by a demon once or something like that. But
They shouldn't have a Grey Knight like corrupted by chaos. Surely that's like that's
Oh,
just a bit too much.
in the defense of the Custodians players, when you bring up the Silver Knight, there are literally like dozens of Grey Knights fans who think that the Grey Knight should have been able to kill Slanesh, and that it's BS that he got corrupted, bro.
That is also
Like, get a
bad.
grip. Oh my gosh.
That is also pretty bad. But I didn't ask Andy that because that is one example versus every
True.
single
Every
encounter.
example.
because
Yeah.
The Custodians don't simply just win. Big fan of the argument they should never lose because of the Custodians, because yes, stating what they are is an argument.
I defend the Custodians, not the people who play Custodians.
All right, I just wanted to get that quick little parting shot for both tabletop and meta.
It's a good dig. It's a good dig.
Do remember that if you complain in the comment section, you are boosting engagement.
Yeah.
The more negative comments you leave, the more the video does well in the algorithm.
Actually, at this point, if you're listening, at this point, tell us who you thought won before we gave our results, because we do appreciate the love and support and also the vitriol. Within reason on YouTube, boys. Careful. Don't no need to put any spicy words.
Indeed. And Eli, have you come to a conclusion?
Sure.
I don't envy either of you, to be honest. This one is like, even before we went in, I was like, oh god.
Have you come to a decision, Colin?
I believe I have.
I think I know what yours is, and I think I know what mine is.
All right. Why don't you go first?
Alright. It's pretty much even, and both factions have their downfalls and have both failed at a lot of stuff. But then Hal came in with the Bretonian comment, and man, I sure do love Bretonia.
Oh my god.
But I mean, like, memes aside, it is a hard decision. I think the Grey Knights, in the 41st millennium, the Grey Knights have done more and are better. Maybe not in the years before that. I think the Custodians would have the win, but the Grey Knights do have the last 10,000 years to, or not, you know what I mean. They have the last wilds who have claimed victory, whereas the Custodians were definitely better, but I don't think they are anymore. So I guess I'll give it to Andy.
Hey, I love you. Thank you.
We too. Even though Hal gave me the his favor last time, sorry Hal. I betrayed you.
No, it's all about the arguments. Colin?
I think I'm going to be doing the reverse of Eli. I'm going to be saying...
I knew it.
The Custodians I'm going to win this argument, although I should say this was a close one on each side. I did like a lot of what Andy said, although I did also try and gauge it by the arguments themselves. And in terms of fulfilling their purpose, I feel the Custodians have done a slightly better job in terms of, guarding around the Imperial Palace for a while. Should they have been doing other stuff? I absolutely believe they should have been. But there's a matter of, saying you should have done this, and as you brought up, Hal, you've been ordered to do this. And Yeah, I'm going to give it to the Golden Boys. I am also perhaps a little bit biased based on their tabletop models being cool.
I'm biased too. I love the Grey Knights.
The Bretonia comment help and sabotage me.
Just pushed him over the edge.
True.
Yeah. I didn't do
True.
anything to sway him. That was just all it was.
If anything, I like the Hogwarts comment more.
Titan is like Hogwarts for wankers.
That one made me laugh.
I've also read Grey Knights novels, and I have not read Custodians novels, so that really helped Andy. Not gonna lie.
I haven't
Watches
read
of the
either.
Throne is really good.
Oh,
I'd
yeah,
recommend
really
that one.
good. I did.
I'm not
And-
going to read either.
I did also have the. I knew it was unfair to go for it, but obviously there was like the Sisters of Silence. I think they're technically within the bracket of like.
Yeah,
they're
like
not.
a weird-
I was going
In
to
the same codex.
I know. I didn't really. I'm not sure if it was fair because again, like, would you say they are Sisters of Silence? They're not Custodies, but again, like, because obviously I could be like, as soon as anything
Big
Grey
key
Knight, just go,
counter,
yeah,
yeah.
just bring a sister with me. But I didn't think it was fair to use in the argument because again, they're not technically Custodians. So, but that would have been a slam dunk if I could.
Then if you do that, I'd just be like, right, let's get the Assassin Aurum involved to help the Grey Knights because they're part of the Inquisition. Then it will just spiral out of
Yeah,
control.
actually. And then I just, at one point, then just get the Emperor, chuck the corpse, and
Just get the Emperor to just smack them both on the head and go, stop fighting.
Oh, better things to do.
chuck his
Big
bones.
skeletal hand.
So yeah, it spirals up to there.
Pandorax is a cool Space Marines novel.
Oh, yes. Although it makes me sad about what happened to Epimetheus, where he's just like, got two blanks surgically stitched to him and he's like suspended and he's got his eyes and tongue cut out. And you're like, poor guy.
Yeah,
he was a good guy.
It was tough.
I think he deserved it.
Yeah, but it has Straken, it has a monkey, and it has a cool Grey Knight.
Yep.
But the real winner was the law writers, though, who both gave us incredibly
Oh my
difficult
gosh.
crutches there. We were like, damn it, GW, why couldn't they just move about?
Inconsistent writing.
Here comes Logan with the steel chair. It's like, oh no.
Oh man.
Let's say though, thank you so much for watching and listening. Again, let us know who you thought won. Also, maybe comment any arguments we might have missed or things we could have, used as a slam dunk, or even
You
maybe
would've
some.
missed stuff.
We definitely, there was a lot like to cover, and we were trying to obviously fit it into essentially 30 minutes of actual, or basically 10 minutes of word. So we were troubled there, but yeah, just let us know anything we missed or anything we thought maybe we made a good point. Also, maybe good jokes. Titan is like Hogwarts for wankers. Let us know if you have anything similar to that, because I'm not gonna lie, that one made me chuckle, even though I wrote that. So that's not fair. Thank you again so much for
Typical
listening.
custodian response. It was so good because I did it. Oh.
It is typical. I don't even play Custodians, to be fair. I actually thought about playing Grey Knights recently. I was like,
Ooh,
the models are a little bit.
I don't even think they're that bad.
A little
I think they're
bit.
cool.
The legs and
They look like knights.
Yeah, they're a little outdated, but they're not bad.
If Primaris didn't exist, they'd be like the coolest Space Marines ever.
They would, if it weren't for the Primaris, they would still be the cream of the Space Marine crop in terms of
Also,
just pure miniature design.
Primaris body with a Grey Knight head, and then it'd be perfect.
Yeah, you could do that though. I'm surprised you didn't talk about the Sister of Battle Blood thing. Pretty
Oh,
sure
I-
I was gonna bring that up, but
The
I
Blood
chose
games. I didn't have enough time to get to the Blood games bit either.
Oh, not that.
Oh no!
It's
when
just
the
a battle.
Grey
Grey
Knights
Knight
drinking Sisters of Battle Blood. I'm pretty sure. Oh no, they put it on their armor. They
it's
didn't drink it.
wording.
Apparently that's not canon. I did have a no. They wrote that and then Jill went, "What the hell was that, bro?" And it's
Oh,
not
they
like
retconned it.
yeah, they retconned
Just
it.
like, rein that in. Rein that in.
I wanted to use that, but then I remember like A, it's non-canon, and B, I figured Andy might have a harder time justifying something for the tabletop.
Nice.
And I was going for low blows on both of those questions.
No, they were good. They were very good. Again, thank you so much for listening and watching. We hope you all enjoyed the arguments. And again, or even let us know if you want to see any other things verse against each other. We do like to argue, clearly. So we'll be happy to do some more. With that being said, thank you so much for listening. And we'll catch you on the next one. Peace.
Bye, love you.
Wow.